This past month has been a busy one for the royal family. King Charles made a state visit to Kenya. He gave the first King's speech in more than 70 years at the opening of Parliament. And there was the visit with the president of South Korea and the state banquet at Buckingham Palace. But are people outside of royal circles and the UK paying much attention? This search for relevancy is the focus of Omid Scobie's new book called Endgame, Inside the Royal Family and the Monarchy's Fight for Survival. And Omid is joining us this morning from New York. Good to have you with us here on Your Morning.
Morning, Anne-Marie. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Listen, I have been following the royals since Andrew and Sarah first got together, got married. I've covered several major royal events, including the Queen's funeral and the King's coronation. And I have to tell you, I've noticed a real sea change, in particular, between the time of the funeral and the coronation. It feels like the appetite just isn't there for either Charles and Camilla or Harry and Meghan or really any of the royals. Is that something that you've sensed?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote this book whilst Queen Elizabeth II was still alive and then had to sort of start over after her sad passing. And, you know, I think that the end of the new Elizabethan era kind of marked a real change for the royal family that not only changed how I think we look at them, partly because the Queen, I think, was probably more popular than the institution itself, but I think with her loss, it made us feel more comfortable talking about the future, the purpose, the relevancy of the monarchy. And, you know, I think one of the things that really stood out to me after the death of the Queen was how much we sort of spent time celebrating her ability to rise above the fray, the way in which she upheld certain morals, values, and ethics that the royal family should be synonymous with, as should a head of the Church of England, but also an institution that is the kind of, I guess, emblem of traditional British values.
You know, one of the things that you wrote in the book I found so fascinating is you described it this way. King Charles' reign is transitional. Unlike his father, who spent, 70 years waiting for the throne, the Prince of Wales, Prince William's going to maybe wait a decade, at the most 2, before he becomes king. How does that factor into how he operates? What's his end game?
Yeah, it really stood out to me talking with some of the aides and courtiers from past and present who really highlighted the fact that, certainly during the Queen's life, that universal support for Charles as the heir to the throne, as the successor, just wasn't there. There were people within Buckingham Palace that felt that he didn't have the kind of moxie or minerals for the job. And perhaps they're looking back at some of the mistakes and events of the past to kind of come to that conclusion. But I also think that even to this day, universally, Charles just doesn't have that same level of support. We've seen him referred to by his own staff in the Times of London as the caretaker king. And people who spoke to me referred to him as sort of the bridge to the true future of the monarchy.
I mean, you've been covering the royals really closely since 2011. What's your fascination with the family?
For me, as a British citizen, a kind of, I guess, slightly modern and progressive thinking Brit, I'm interested in what the royal family can bring to Britain today. And I see times where I felt very proud of what the institution represents, but I've also seen times where they fail to kind of uphold the morals and values that I think that we should expect from this institution.
Omid, not just as a journalist, but somebody who is a British citizen, and you've talked in your book about having mixed heritage. Do you feel like the royal family represents Britain as you know it, and as you want to see the royal family represent your country?
I mean, this issue of race and the royals is one that I've particularly enjoyed diving into in the book, because I don't think that these conversations happen often enough. And, listen, I almost hate to kind of make this about Harry and Meghan, because, my name is often so synonymous with them, often incorrectly cited as their friend or their mouthpiece or spokesperson. But the reality is that I care about the treatment of human beings. And whether you like Meghan or not, she was an American mixed race woman that walked into the House of Windsor ready to do the work and get on with the job. Instead, she fell victim to the racism and prejudice that is prevalent in British society today. But rather than protect her from it, they kind of left her to it. When she rang the alarm bells and said that there are problems, that she was at times feeling suicidal, she was again ignored. there are many people that feel quite strongly about Harry and Meghan today, but I really challenge anyone to tell me what it is that Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, did wrong when she was a working member of the royal family, those years when she was just getting on with the job. And I think the royal family, even to this day, shying away from true conversations about its connections to the slave trade through the ancestors of the current living royals. Yeah. You know, these abstract terms that we hear King Charles talk about in some of, most recently in Kenya, but also in Barbados a couple of years ago, aren't enough.
The book is called Endgame, Inside the Royal Family and the Monarchy's Fight for Survival. You definitely get into a lot of what the endgame could be. Omid, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Anne-Marie.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.